What's up guys, Headphones Neil here with a tutorial for custom live wallpaper maker. So for today's tutorial, I wanted to cover something that's super simple and useful but very functional in the form of global variables. So they are useful in the idea that let's say you're going to use a particular element or elements in multiple places, but you don't necessarily want to keep reusing the same information over and over, and you don't really want to copy the same elements over and over, or you want to pull certain information from the same base element, like you want to set a global variable and use it as a wallpaper, pull accent colors and things like that, or something as simple as you want all your text to use the same font and you don't want to scroll through having to find the same font over and over, and you don't necessarily want to copy and paste the same text box over and over. So what you want to do is set up a global variable. So what we're going to do is in your live wallpaper maker, that whether you're starting new or using an existing one, you're going to scroll on over to the global variable section. It's just called globals. And you're going to click on the plus sign. The title field and the type are required fields. So in this case, let's set up a global variable. We'll just call it image. Under the type, it's a menu option, so you pick from one of the pre-existing things. So you have things like an on-off switch, text field, bitmap, which is for the image, folders, things like that. So if you are going to set up a whole bunch of variables, but you want to organize them a little bit, like you're going to have a whole bunch of icons for a custom doc, then you can stick them into a folder so you have them all in one place. So then you'll click, in this case, because we're doing an image, we're going to click on bitmap. You can have a description if you want, but it is totally optional. So if you don't want one, you don't have to fill one in. And then we'll click OK. From here, just like the background picture or in the image or shape objects, you'll click on Pick Image. And your recent images on your device will show up, or you can go to your albums like your gallery, Google Photos, or wherever to pick your image, and you'll pick your image. Now in this case, I have a lot of wide areas with empty space, so I don't necessarily want the colors to only focus on, these trees over here that are on the right, but I don't mind keeping them as needed. So I'm going to crop the image as well, so the focus stays on the sunset area and a little bit of the trees as well for effect. And I'm going to click crop. So now our image is set, so now we want to use it. So now what we're going to do is, let's say I want to use this as a background element. So I'll go on over to background, I'll switch the type from solid to image. Now for the bitmap option here, I'm going to select it and we're going to switch on over to the formula mode. So you'll click on this check mark off to the right and then click on the calculator up at the top right of your screen. And so now when we touch this, it's going to bring up our fields for what formula do we want to select. So right here underneath the word formula, we see this little earth icon, which represents the global variable list. So if you have multiple variables, they'll all show up here. And we're going to click on image. The main thing to remember here is when you're done with your formula, you do need to have the dollar signs at the beginning and end for it to read correctly. So once your formula is all done, we're going to click on the check mark. There you go. The image is now set as a background. And now you can just as easily go over to our global and change the image to something else. So let's say I want it to be this image. So there you go. That's all. And you can crop it if you want, but it is a totally optional item. But you don't necessarily have to do that. And you can use the global variable for different things. So for example, as a quick and easy introduction to formulas, beyond what we saw, let's say I want this text to be the vibrant color that's pulled from my image. We're going to go on over to Paint, and in the color chooser, Just like the background function, we're going to click on that check mark and switch to the calculator mode. And when we touch that, there is an area for pulling bitmap colors. So we're going to scroll on up to that section, and it's called bitmap palette. So this is a set of preset functions to pull colors in a variety of ways. So it generally defaults to your media player. So it wants to pull colors from whatever media is currently playing, but you can use it with the image um, or global or your image variables as well. So you can have it pull from the image, or you can use a global variable and extract colors that way. So I want to pick a vibrant color to go with my image. So I'm going to delete this text and I'm going to pick this formula. But you see how it says MI cover? The MI is reference to the music group of objects, and then cover is the music currently playing music's cover art's cover. So I want to delete that, and I'm going to pick from the global menu image. And now we need to close it up. And in this case, it's similar to your basic arithmetic where you need to have your parentheses match up to what other parentheses you have. So you see that parentheses next to image is only for that image one, but we have another one next to vibrant. So we're going to put in one more parentheses and the dollar sign. So I may need to give permissions because I think this is a fresh install, but in case I don't, if you do, it'll ask you for it, but if you don't need to, it's not going to. It'll automatically pull it. So let's click on the check mark, and you'll see that the color for Hello World changed to this brownish color. So let's move our text down a little bit. Let's move it down about 300. And that's not enough. Let's move it a little bit more. Let's move it down here, and we can make it a little bit bigger and move it to the right. So you see how it changed color automatically. So now that you have that formula, you can change your wallpapers willy-nilly, and the colors will automatically change. So let's change it back to this image. And there you go. It changed the colors to that purplish color. So let's do a little bit of cropping just so we can have it stand out a little bit. And let's move that element back to the center of the screen. So we'll set the y-axis down to 0. And there you go. So you now have a text that will automatically update based on whatever, or your text color will change automatically based on the colors in your image, and your background will also update based on your global variable. And this way you don't have to go into each and every element to update the source of wherever is pulling the data. So for your background, like if you change your background and you pick the image manually or hard code it, then you would have to go into all of your elements and pick the image every single time. By doing it this way with global variables, you can set it once and it'll apply everywhere else in which your elements are pulling that information. Same thing goes with your global font. So what we'll do is we'll go to globals, and we'll click on plus and say G font for a global font. And let's change that to font. So let's say I know I want to use a particular font style. We'll go into the fonts and let's see. I know I think there's a Ubuntu font in here that I really like that still stands out and looks nice. So I'll pick that. So now when we go back over to our text field, under font, you get that same option of fonts, but if you hard code it, then you have to copy and paste the elements. And if you ever decide to change them once your wallpaper is done, now you have to go through one by one and change them. So by setting the font style to the global font, and then select it, your global font will show up and it'll automatically update. Let's change our, now that purple doesn't really look good or tie out very well, so let's change it back to, oh, wrong one. We want to keep that as the color. Background, let's change it to a solid. So now let's say we want to change our global font to, we'll scroll down and look for one that's kind of silly or ridiculous. And these are all fonts that are built into Custom Live Wallpaper Maker. So if you find one you like, that's why I always say I prefer to say go with a global variable, so you don't have to find it every single time. So let's say this one. So you now have a little more fancier of a font that you can change, and this gets applied to anything that's using the variable. So I mean the global variable. So that way you don't have to change this every time. So I can't reiterate that enough. Is if you know you're gonna even if you don't know you're gonna use something over and over, you set stuff up as a global variable so you can pull from that. And if you decide that you want to change something, like change an image or a font, you just have to change it once. If you go in and you're setting up a home screen, you have a whole bunch of text that's pulling from a particular image, and then you realize you don't like that image. Now you have to go change all this stuff, super annoying, super hassling, and then you kind of get turned off using Custom Live Wallpaper Maker. So global variables are definitely a thing to use and are very useful right off the bat, especially when it comes to font and the font global variable and the image global variable. So that's all there is for this tutorial. Not too much to talk about there, but there are a few options, like I said. So one of those things to cover is the global switch, which will make more sense when we do set up a switch. So we'll talk about that a little bit more then, but you can set up a color if you want. So let's say you want to automatically pull muted colors and vibrant colors to kind of keep your formula screen clean. You can do that as well, but if you're already pulling from the image, that's kind of extraneous. Or if if you want to adjust the formula a little bit, like you realize that you did a color edit for just muted colors and you want to change it to a blend of that muted color and black, or kind of blend two colors together. Now the same thing as the text field. Now you have to go in back and change every single one. So you can set up a color formula to pull from your image. So we'll set it to formula, and you can set your global variable for your image. So let's say you want to always pull a muted color from the image. You can do, not that. We don't want to have it be a circular reference. We'll set that. So now you can change your image and it'll automatically update that color. But let's say you want to change that color formula to something else, then you can do that as well. So right now I'm showing you that we can delete the existing formula and set the global variable to muted, and it'll keep the color. So now if we go and change the global variable color to, let's say we change it from muted to vibrant, which it looks like it's pretty much the same. So let's say we do a blend. CE is color editor, and I'm gonna do a blend with black. So let's say 50% black and the purple. So you see it darkens up a little bit. So you can see in real time the effects that your formula change will have. So if you think that your darkening of a color is a little bit too much, you can adjust it from 50 to 25 or 75, any percentage range from 0 to 100. You can merge two colors like vibrant and muted colors and things like that, and see the effect in real time. So, and how it would look on your background. So that way you know exactly how it's going to look. And if there's going to be and if it's not going to stand out as much as you want, then you can adjust accordingly until you get it right. So that way you know that it works perfectly. And that way also, now when you change your image and you see that the colors are off, you just have to go into your global variables and adjust the formulas there, and it'll translate over into all your elements onto your home screen. So that is all for this, or now that's all there is for this particular tutorial. So if you have any comments, questions, feedback, do you want me to show you how something will look on a certain with a certain image? You can definitely leave a comment on the video and I will help out as best as I can. But thanks for tuning into this particular video, and until next time.